Welcome in to day 3 of the 3-day EKG challenge. So I'm so excited because we've got a wonderful session for you tonight, both this session and then the bonus session that's after this. Okay, so we're going to cover a 10-step system tonight, which is an organized way of approaching 12 leads. We are also going to do a little bit of practice. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's go again from beginning. Okay, so make sure we're all in the right place. So welcome in on Zoom, welcome in on Facebook. If you want to join either way, that's fine. We are recording tonight's session, the 12 lead part. And then we are going to be putting this on the replay page. A lot of you have been asking me, hey, how do I watch all 3 sessions? So there's a couple ways, just FYI. You can either go to the guides and watch them there in Facebook, or we're posting a link for you guys, a replay link with everything on it, all in one place, so it's easier. Whatever you want to do is fine. I think my dog's just getting home, so he might be running in a second. Apologies in advance for him running in. Hi, baby, come up. Come on, come say hi. Okay, so anyway, Remy says hi to everybody. So again, we're going to do the scholarship announcement. We're going to do the 10-step system, and we're going to do a little bit more on STEMI. Okay, so that's what is lining up for tonight. And then after my session, at about an hour later, so about 6:30 Pacific Standard, we're going to have Gary come on with arrhythmia practice. So he's going to be bringing a demo. He's going to be bringing live arrhythmias for us. So it's going to be a good session. That one is not, unfortunately, recorded. So this one is, his is not. He doesn't allow us to record. Yes. Hi, Z. Am I going to see you in Orlando? I hope I am. Anyway, okay, let's get kicked off now that we are officially on time. So the scholarship, first and foremost, I mentioned this a couple days in a row, but in case you didn't hear, we are giving away a scholarship tonight to a paramedic, and this paramedic was selected at random, and a lot of you had entered to win, which we love seeing. And just by the way, thank you so much for everything you do. But also, this scholarship is going to be given away to somebody who will get 30 days access in our 30-day EKG challenge. And so that's really exciting. When you see who wins, whoever wins, send me your email address so I can get you access. We'll get you in the Facebook group, and we kick off on the 9th, which is so exciting, which is Monday. And we're going to do everything basic, working on our way up to more advanced stuff later down the road. But without further ado, this was, oh, you're going to be there. Yay, I'm going to see you. I'm so excited. So by the way, I'm going around the country right now live. And so Zach is someone that's I'm going to see in person in Orlando, flying out to San Antonio tomorrow, going to see a bunch of amazing people live in person. So of course, if you, including a lot of our coaches, and like I mentioned earlier, we might be doing a bonus session for you guys, but just a side note, if you want to see me live, I'm currently going around the country. I have 3 more stops: Orlando, middle of the month, Las Vegas, middle of November, and then San Antonio, I think on Thursday. There's still tickets for each. I'm doing a live workshop there. If you want to attend, hit me up, message me, I'll get you the link, but we'd love to meet you in person. So the scholarship, without further ado, is given in the honor of my fallen comrade who died last month, and he was one of the people that trained me. So this is an homage to carrying on his legacy, basically, and giving somebody a scholarship in his name. And of course, I'm a former paramedic, so that also is a big deal. And so our winner is Katie Dow. So hopefully she's live. Yes, 30 days before your birthday. Oh, that's awesome. So Katie Dow, you are our winner. Message me for the all the stuff, all the details. I'll get you your access, and we will be so excited to teach you all of the things. So let's give a big welcome to Katie Dow, who is pictured here. It's going to be so great to see your face in our classes. I can't wait. Now, if you didn't win and you want to join us, there's obviously still room, still time. I'm sure Tori and Ruben and maybe Michelle can post a link to join us. It's not too late, and we would love to have you. We're going to be taking everything we've done in this challenge, the 3-day, including what we're doing tonight, and expanding on it, practicing it. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm drinking through a fire hose. This is because there's so much to learn, right? And the great thing is that by the end of it, you're going to be, even after this 3 days, you're going to be so much more confident with EKGs. And we're so excited to hear how you feel at the end. And yes, congratulations to Katie. I hope she's live, but maybe she's not. She might be on shift. And Zach says, if you haven't attended, well worth it. You will learn a ton. I totally agree. Zach's going to help me teach in Orlando. So that's going to be a bonus if you want to meet Zach. He's super nice. And yes, everybody says congratulations. Hey. Yes, greetings, Southwest Florida, I think. Steve, hello. Welcome, welcome. Okay, Ruben's posting the link. Thank you, Ruben. Okay, so let's get off with our learning now. Let's jump into the normal EKG. Let's talk about what normal looks like, and then we'll go practice our 10-step, and we'll talk a little bit about STEMI. And then tonight we'll do that bonus session with Gary, which is, again, well worth showing up for. So let's talk basics. Now, these are a lot of things you've probably never heard before, which is why a lot of it feels new. But the thing is this is all just fundamentals and foundation, right? And so you may have never heard of the TP segment before. And I'm sorry, but welcome to our world. We're going to teach you about it. That's what we do. We give you all the goods, right? So anyway, let's talk about what makes it normal. Now, first of all, you have to understand that the machine software is right only about 6 to 42% of the time, which is not a lot, okay? So you need to really make sure that you scrutinize it no matter what the machine says. Machines lie. Unfortunately, that's the reality. So here's a couple of things that make this normal, okay? So first of all, what you've got is you've got an EKG with no artifact. That's number one. Now, number two is you want to go down and you want to look at, just big sick, little sick, okay, which we're going to cover in a second. And this is looking pretty normal, so we have time to look at the details, which we'll go through in a stepwise fashion. The thing I want to show you on this EKG is that the TP segment, which is, we covered this night one, but we're going to cover it again in case you didn't make it or watch that session yet. But right here, the TP segment is designed, okay, to give us a place to line up with, to see if there's ST elevation or depression, okay, ST elevation or depression. You can see that there is not any here, which is great. That's what we want. And this is what we're looking for as our isoelectric line. This is the most true line in the whole thing. The other thing you'll notice is that the R wave right here in 1 and 2 and 3 is pointing up. That also makes it normal. And we will actually, in our 30-day, we actually go through these intervals in detail, but they do matter. And this set of numbers that people told you not to worry about, there's a lot of clues in here, okay? So knowing that they should point up, up, and up in 1, 2, and 3 is important. Also the T waves, just to revisit that, the T waves should be upright in all the leads except for these two. They should be inverted, not upside down, okay? So every guy that's not with an arrow should be upright. And if it's not, you have to worry, okay? You have to scrutinize it more closely. The machine's probably going to say something very blasé, like non-specific ST wave changes. But let me assure you, friends, that if you have inverted symmetric T waves, it's not non-specific. It's something really bad, and you need to look at it further. So that's why we spend so much time on the directionality of the T. And maybe you never learned that before, but it's really, really important. Now, this is an example of an EKG, and thank you for tagging, Tori. I appreciate it, and thank you, Ruben, for putting the link. And Michelle is giving us some good advice. So here is, in a nutshell, an EKG that says it is normal, okay? Normal, but this is not normal. And here's why. Rule number one, we just covered it, right? So the T waves should be upright in all the leads, upright except for AVR and V1. This T wave is inverted. That is thing number one that's wrong. So the machine can lie to us. And then also this PR interval, as it turns out, is short. Remember, we talked about that on night one. The PR should be between 120 and 200. So if it's under that, that's not normal either. Now, normally that would mean something like a Wolff-Parkinson's White. This patient doesn't have it. We go over that in the 30-day, but just know that the machines lie, and don't be fooled. Always stick to your guns and really know your numbers. Really look at your ST segments, really look at the directions of the T wave. It does matter, okay? So then we got to talk about the parts, okay, of the EKG. So the parts, and it's really important to understand that the EKG is divided into sections. So you've heard these terms before, but we'll go over them real quick. And I'm just going to briefly gloss over this because we do color code this in our 30-day. That's why I send you this EKG, so we color it. But really quickly, knowing that the lateral wall, okay, is lead 1, AVL, V5, and V6, and knowing that the septal leads are V1 and V2 is really important because you're talking about what parts of the heart are we looking at with the 12 lead. You know that V1 all the way through V4 fed by one artery, and V3 and V4 are the anterior leads. So the leads that are on the front of the heart. And we actually take multiple times, we take a 3D heart and we show you this, how to connect the flat object to a 3D heart in our workshop. But know that we're just telling you right now, we're not showing you. We show you in the 30-day, we tell you in the 3-day. So it's definitely worth joining us. And then over here is the lateral. We color code these as well. That's lead 1, AVL, V5, and V6. And this is understanding what parts are looking at what. Now, this becomes important when you're talking about STEMI, because as we learned about in night 1, we need to look for contiguous leads, which means leads that are fed by the same artery anatomically speaking. So for example, 2, 3, and F are all fed by the same artery and they are contiguous. You have to know these to be able to diagnose STEMI. If you don't know them, you can't diagnose STEMI accurately. And if you think you can rely on the machine, it will lie to you, especially if there's pericarditis. It will often call it a STEMI. There's like 6 things that are STEMI mimics that the machine will call. So we can't rely on that. We actually have to know this part, but it takes some practice. It's hard to just see this and know it. In fact, for a long time, I couldn't conceptualize this because I'm such a visual learner. You had to tactile it. I had to feel it. I had to draw it. And so we actually put you through this exercise in our 30-day in our workshop. And Michelle does it with a heart on a stick that she sewed. And it just gives you an idea of what you're looking at. Because ultimately, here's the thing. You don't want to just memorize. You want to understand. When you understand, that's knowledge that no one can ever take away from you. And you can always recall it. Understanding. Okay, that's the difference, because other things just make you memorize, but that's a little bit's memorization, but most of it's understanding. So we talked about this terminology, contiguous lead fed by the same artery. There's REMI, and reciprocal is the opposite lead. So everything that happens up here, the opposite's going to happen down here in the heart. And it's reciprocal, which just means the opposite or a mirror of, okay? And Tori, thank you for putting the workbook. And KJ says, draw your lines. Absolutely. KJ is always so good at making sure we stick to point on drawing our lines because KJ knows how important that is. So here's another graphic just to show you the arterial supply and the changes in the reciprocal changes. But I'm going to tell you that for me, this didn't work. You can look at this list all day long. But conceptualizing how they fit together is really the sweet spot. So know that if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, I'm going to memorize this and I hope I remember it, and that works for you, I'm happy for you. If it doesn't, come join us. I'll teach you a better way. So let's do a little practice, including a 10-step system. This is so funny that I put this slide up because this is literally Esperie's coming to help coach the workshop in San Antonio on Thursday. So is Michelle. We were just making a silly little photo for fun because, you know, we're always hunting for zebras, zebra hunters. But in a nutshell, we're going to do the 10-step system together, and we're going to show you how it is step by step. So you can walk away, hopefully armed with the system to approach 12 leads if you don't already have one. So here is the secret sauce right here. Okay. You've got your 10-step system, which you use. And I'm going to tell you why this is important, and we'll go over it step by step. This is so important because if you're new, and I know this because I've done lots of one-on-one coaching, both virtually and in person. And I've had even a 30-year PA who came to me and said, hey, I run my own clinic. I just want to feel super solid and comfortable on EKGs. It's like, good on you. So I just said to him, I gave him an EKG and I said, tell me where your eyes go. And the 30-year PA versus even a new PA, or NP even, like, or medic, anybody, the eyes seem to go to the thing that's the most interesting because that's what we do, right? That's human nature. So it's almost like we have to put blinders on so that we don't do that and we don't miss the big things. So this is a little 10-step. I would honestly say that the first thing is count me safe the most. So that's big sick versus little sick, which we'll talk about. Rate is super important. Obviously rhythm, the intervals, the axis isn't so important. And the good news is that if you don't know axis and you never learned it, that was me for a long time too. I'm going to give you in the 30-day a cheat sheet. You'll never have to understand it because honestly, it's hard. And it's only really relevant in a couple situations anyway, but don't worry, I got you covered on that. I'm going to tell you where you need to spend the most time. The most time is on step 7 and the most time is on step 8 because analyzing the T waves is really important. The directionality of them. Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they biphasic? What are they doing? Are they too big for their QRS? All of those things are details that matter. In fact, if I could only look at one part of the EKG, I would say, give me the T wave. I would also say, please give me the ST segment. Those are the two most important parts. So 6 and 8, okay? 8, you're looking for elevation and depression, and 6 and 8, you're looking at the directionality. So let's see what this looks like in a stepwise fashion. So first things first, we're going to use the same EKG to do all 10 steps on so you can see how this works. And step number 1 is big sick versus little sick. If you're a paramedic, you know that this is critical. And you, as paramedics, I didn't realize this was a paramedic thing for a long time. I would say this in classes and people would look at me funny. But then I realized, oh, it's a medic thing. They teach you that. And it was a little baby duckling paramedic. They say, when you get in the room or wherever you are with the patient, is it big sick or little sick? Are you going to load and go? That's always something they would like just drill into you. And so you got good at doing that like the very first thing. Well, you need to do that with EKGs too, because if you don't, you could go over and you could be like, oh, I'm going to go look at the P wave and I'm going to go look for Q waves. And like, meanwhile, you have a STEMI accusation. So that needs to take precedence. So how does this work? If you have a STEMI, right, or a systole or VTAC or VFib, any of those things, you have to solve for STEMI. You have to do something about the big sick right now. Otherwise, you can't progress on. Okay, you have to address big sick first. Then what you need to do is if it's big sick, you're done. And that's easier. Like, okay, cool, done. You're going to the ER, or if you're in the ambulance, you're loading and going, whatever is happening, you're medicating. But if they're a little sick, you have time to scrutinize the EKG and do our 10-step system. So this one is obviously big sick. This is saying we have a STEMI. So this is where we would bring in our contiguous leads. Oh, hey, Joanne, what's up, Joanne? And we would bring in our contiguous leads and look for reciprocal changes. Okay, so we know this is big sick. This person, we would stop here, solve for STEMI, look at the ST segments, and then boom, they're gone. Okay, where whatever that means in your world, like Matt Buchanan, load and go, stay and play. That's literally something we say all the time. So if you have a STEMI accusation, you stop, don't pass go, don't collect 200, see if it's a STEMI, time is muscle, get them to the cath lab, however that happens. But if not, go to number 2 and look at the rate. So you can see here ventricular rate, there's an arrow, it's a 71 beats per minute, and that's good, anything between 60 and 100. So rate 60 to 100, it's normal. So we can go on. We can also use that for number 3, and we can go down to V1, which is pull down at the bottom. And we can say, okay, well, is this, regular versus irregular? You can see by literally taking and marking out here, you can go, oh, that's regular. Okay, it's regular. Do I have P waves? Well, in V1, it's very wandering or very wavy. It's really hard to see. So go up to lead 2, where it's the easiest to see. You can clearly see there's a P wave. So what rhythm is this? Type in the chat. What rhythm is this? Based on what you learned last night. By the way, you'll get more practice tonight with Gary. So don't worry, that's coming up. This is sinus rhythm. Yes. Okay. Because we've got P waves, because it's within 60 to 100. This is a sinus rhythm. Just because you don't see a P wave in all the leads doesn't mean it's not sinus. Okay. It's right here. It's the most beautiful P wave ever. And it is right here. It's just hard to see. Yes. Good job, Jennifer. Good job. Okay. Number 4. After number 3, the rhythm, right? You're looking at that. You don't have a rhythm strip here. But this is saying it's normal sinus, just confirming that for you. It's also showing you there is a PR interval, which means that this is most likely seeing a P, most likely sinus. And I just wanted to show you really quick that the intervals do matter, because remember, going back to this EKG, if you were here on night 1, we showed you this one with a QT of over 713. I know in your workbook, you guys already did this. We did this on night 1 where we said, hey, what's too long on the QT? A lot of people said 500, and that's true. but technically anything over 460 in a woman and also 450 in a man is technically too long. Okay, so it might affect your medication administration, might not, but you always need to know the QT. So as Sandria said, yes, and Jennifer, sinus rhythm. Okay, good. So in a nutshell, we as I showed you before, just in case you didn't see it, we did get a clean EKG, which is rule number 1, always have a clean EKG. And you could see that the QT was actually 444 and it was not prolonged, but the machine thought it was. And this is just more ammo to not believe the machine, okay? And then the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come on down to the ST segments, and you're gonna look here at the segments. And this is where the real juice lives, okay? So you've got some ST elevation in 2, 3, and AVF. So are 2, 3, and AVF, are they contiguous? Steve, I love it. Steve is so on top of it. So is this contiguous leads with ST elevation? And I know Steve already said yes, so he's answering, and it's totally right up our alley. It's true. So yes, it is, right? There's contiguous leads, 2, 3, and AVF. They're fed by the same artery. So then we need to jump on over, and we just need to see if there's any reciprocal change. So we need to look in lead 1, we need to look in AVL, look in V2, and there is contiguous leads with what are called reciprocal changes. Okay, so this is indeed a STEMI. If this is your first time ever learning this, just to review, 2, 3, and F are contiguous, and 1 in AVL and V2 are reciprocal, the opposite, and they're showing the mirror image. And that's what reciprocal means. Okay, so this is a STEMI. And as we already correctly said, we would get this patient to the destination. And then we're also looking at to see if there is Q waves. That would be the first negative deflection on the very beginning of the QRS complex, right? First negative deflection. Again, you're looking for anything that's a third, the height of the R wave. We talked about that night 1. And you're also looking to see if the P and the QRS are married. Are they sticking together, or is there a heart block, right? You're always looking at that. So this P and the QRS are married. You can see the interval is normal, and that's what we want. We want it to be between 120 and 200. So in all reality, so far this is good, except for the STEMI so far, and what Steve pointed out. And then lastly, on 7, not lastly, but almost lastly, the axis is 31. So normal axis is 0 to 90. The axis is still normal on this patient, despite them having a STEMI, okay? So we go over how to really look at axis in detail, but I'm not gonna begrudge that here. And then also something to look at is the voltage. I'm not gonna go too deep into this either, but I'm gonna tell you that, again, just going back to night 1, you're looking at too tall or too small. I did that backwards, too small or too tall. And if it's too small, we got to worry about the big things like pericardial effusion. If it's too tall, we have to worry about a deep ventricle or a big ventricle, so thick tissue. And that could mean a lot of different things. It's not always bad, believe it or not, but we never really expand on that, right? So, but you got to know, is it too small or too tall? And then what to do with that information. Most of the things, if they're too tall or too small, are going to lead to an echo, so that you know with all of certainty if it's too tall or too small or too big. Now, of course, you can use the criteria. There's math equations to do this, but ultimately, we're not going to cover that tonight. Sokoloff-Lyon criteria, if you want to look it up. But this patient does not have increased voltage or small voltage, so we're good. Okay. The T-wave rules is looking at the directionality, looking at the shape of the T's. Okay. Steve, I will not touch on right-sided, unfortunately. That's something I do in the 30-day, but I have a feeling you would know about it anyway because you're so smart. So normal sinus rhythm, we talked about that. T-wave rules are looking at the direction. Okay, so these are elevated. And now, Steve, you had mentioned earlier, that there was ST elevation over here. And I just really, if anybody's advanced, I'm just going to touch on that real quick. That if you have ST elevation in other leads, right, it could mean that there's other involvement of other arteries. But really, at the end of the day, if you find one STEMI, you just need to get them to their destination. You really don't need to worry about if there's another STEMI, although we will cover that in the 30-day. We have lots of EKGs with 2, but in reality, really, it's not going to make a difference. You're going to, I mean, right ventricular involvement would potentially make a difference as a medic, but that's something I'm sure you've learned already, Steve, and you probably know all about it. You could teach a class on this. But in a nutshell, this is a STEMI. T-wave rules are important, but here is the thing, okay? So this T-wave is technically upside down, all right? But it's not symmetric. And that's where the difference really comes in. And I don't want to bury you in the more advanced stuff, but just know that T-waves should not be symmetric. If they are, it's bad. This one isn't symmetric, and it's being caused by the ischemia. Okay, but looking at the directionality is important. And then lastly, you're going to do something called a chief complaint-based approach, where you go back into the EKG and you look at it based on the complaint. So in a nutshell, what you're going to do is look specifically for if they have chest pain STEMI, pericarditis, pulmonary embolus. You're going to look for the things that can kill somebody. If they have syncope, right? You're going to scan looking at their QT interval. You're going to scan looking at their PR. You're going to look for delta waves. You're going to look for all these big bad wolves, and you're going to document that you looked and they didn't have them, okay, to keep yourself safe. Things like palpitations, you would also do the same thing. So any big priority complaint like chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitations, syncope, all those things, you have to keep yourself a safe provider by documenting the pertinent positives and pertinent negatives. So in this case, it was easy. We had a STEMI. We sent them to the emergency department. They went to the cath lab, opened up that right coronary artery, and all is well. But that's not the only thing that can cause chest pain. There can be all sorts of other things that are non-cardiac, right? But you have to go in thinking the worst first so that you don't get burned. And you always have to look for STEMI so that you don't miss it, okay? Yes, Steve, what are you talking about? You're already super smart. So anyway, this is our 10-step. You can use it. It can be helpful. There is a part in your workbook where you can write the steps in if you want to. It's so much fun just to kind of reiterate it for you. But in a nutshell, this was a STEMI. This was practicing your system so that you don't miss things like STEMI. All right. So this is actually officially the end of our 3-day EKG challenge, except for tonight, we have the bonus session. We will be coming back at 6:30. I do have a couple more things to share with anybody who asked me about the 30-day EKG challenge. I'm going to show you a little bit about that if you want to stick around. Otherwise, come back at 6:30 for our live session with Gary. We will be doing basic arrhythmias practice, and it will be so good and relevant to kind of firm up what you learned yesterday and practice. So if you are the winner, Katie, or if you want to join us, this is going to be our last 30-day EKG challenge opening for the rest of the year. So we will be active in our 30-day EKG challenge for the rest of the year, but we will not be doing a 3-day EKG challenge, okay? So if you're like thinking, oh, I'm going to wait for the next one, there is no more this year. I just have to warn you. I don't want anybody to be taken aback by like, oh, wait, you said you were going to do it. No, this is it for the rest of the year if you want to get in. So here's what it looks like to get in. What we're going to cover is the things that are left. Malika, this EKG 30-day. So it starts on the 9th. And, oh, Joanne, good question. So come back into the link around 6:25. That's the best thing, because I have to close this because he won't allow recording. The sessions, they are all different. So a lot of them are at 5:30 Pacific. Some of them are at 2 Pacific. A lot of them are in 4 o'clock Pacific. It just depends on who's teaching, because we don't have just me. We have like 7 other coaches. So it's super fun. Steve, I don't have a date for next year, to be honest. So like if you're on the fence, this is the time to do it. I know we will do another one. I just don't have a date yet. There may be some changes coming up that I can't anticipate. I will know more soon. But anyway, long story short, here's what we're going to cover. We covered a little bit on the basics. We expand on it starting October 9th. We're going to talk more about 12 leads and do hands-on practice. Look more at normal EKGs because this is just a taste. Then we're going to go into coronary anatomy. That's a lot done with Michelle. And then also high risk patterns. We're going to talk about those. And I do a lot on this. I really, really make you solid on this by the end of our time together. You do get 6 months, by the way. in our 30-day EKG challenge. I know it says 30 days, but our 30 days is designed to get you comfortable and confident within the 30. And then you get all that extra time to absorb and keep coming to different classes that we offer and keep absorbing and getting a chance to get coached by people like David White, who's amazing. And he does study halls every 2 weeks for us. We submit EKGs to him. He breaks them down. It's so much fun. And then also, yes, Megan, you do. I know. We miss you, our cardio queen. And then subtle STEMI, we're going to cover that. And then mimics, and then finally confidence. Okay, that's what's coming. So medic school is final October 16th. That's okay, Steve. We'll be here. We'll be back. Don't worry. You can join us then. But I'm so happy for you, Steve, because you are like rocking it for a student. So here is tonight. This is the bonus session in our 3-day. We kick off the 30-day over here at 5:30. We do a little more basic arrhythmias. We do a welcome call. We do a little more EKG terminology, kind of getting you comfortable with the basic. We round out the complete picture to then, by the time you've watched this plus that, you're going to feel solid on the basics. But then Michelle comes in, Coach Michelle, who you met. She's going to do a full hour-and-a-half class on basically the basics of 12 lead. And she puts like leads all over her. She has a model. She gives you workbooks, handouts. It's really a good class for the beginner. And then David on the 12th is going to do one of his study halls where he comes in and he does a topic that you've requested. So he's very, very flexible, and he'll ask the group, what do you want to see? And then if you submit him EKGs, he breaks them down in detail and walks you through it, and you can ask him questions. So he's a live human. He does a very interactive session if you want to. Otherwise, he covers a topic. But there's tons and tons of info that he's done. And anybody who's advanced, there's advanced stuff from him in the past too you could watch. So that's cool. Michelle on the 18th is going to do some 12 lead practice for us. So she's going to basically expound on here. She teaches you, then she puts hands on and she shows you. She teaches and then shows, and you do hands on. Then on the 22nd, I'm going to do this EKG workshop, which I teach all over the country. I get hired in to teach this. You're going to get it as part of your package, right? You could literally join the 30-day EKG challenge as a student for $149 and get 6 months access. Most people pay $149 just to go to this one workshop when I do it live. So this is a steal. It's a no-brainer. And in that, we use everything I send you in the box. We use the workbook, we use the normal EKG, we use the crayons, we go hands-on. And I walk you through this workshop, and this is where you put all the pieces together, and we draw on the anatomy, we do real workbook EKGs, and it's so much fun. And then to cement that, Michelle does a session on coronary arteries where you get to practice with her. And you really understand the anatomy so that you're understanding. And by the time you get to David's study hall, oh my gosh, it's so great because you have questions and he'll answer them, right? In a live session. And then at the 29th and 30th, at the end of the month, I'm going to do 2 different things. Actually, one of them is going to be common chief complaints, how to work them up. Another is going to be cardiac cases. We'll solve them together. So we'll basically give you all the knowledge and then practice it. So that's just October. We also have sessions in November and December. So literally go all year long, but we just usually open this up every month for new students. We're just not taking new students after this month until next year. So with that being said, thank you for putting the link. So Pacific is always the times we list in. You can see right here, it says all times Pacific, because that way we stay on one time zone and it makes life easier. So in the hands-on workshop, which is happening on the 22nd, you have 17 real EKGs. I give you a cheat sheet. We color code the EKG together. I send you the crayons in the mail, which is so fun. You have access to everything we've done for 3 years. And literally I'm going to put an updated list soon in the group so you can see everything that's there. But we have Megan, who is our cardio queen, who's done so many amazing sessions if you're in cardiology, like how to answer triage messages. We have echo reports, how to make sense of them. I've done stuff on the new CHF guidelines. We just had this week a CHF expert come on and do the guideline review for us. We had Mike Sharma come on and do EKG updates and the new chest pain guidelines. How do you make sense of them? What are the new things? And he shared a bunch of journal articles. So we're always keeping this fresh and updated for you. And the recordings are all housed so you could binge watch whatever is fun for you. In our group, we have so many different topics, but This is the October schedules, what we have set up for you live, and then those are recorded. Okay, so yes, Matt says don't miss it. So here's Megan, Coach Megan. Here's her teaching. She's just amazing too. We've got tons of EKG classes. This isn't even a list, right? That's actually 3 years now. I send you a free little mini painting on an easel, a workbook, the crayons, and we're actually sending you this round a binder, which I'll show you in a minute, that comes to you in the mail. And you can get in as a student with no CE for $149 for the next 6 months. You get access to everything we've done in the past and everything we're going to do for the next 6 months. And you can marinate on it. You can revisit it. EMS, $149, $249 for RNs, and $299 for PAs. So that's the skinny. Let me see if you guys have questions, and then I'll show you my little box. It is a good course, Carlene. Yeah, definitely a good course. And also, if you, just so you know, if you are an international student, we don't ship this package internationally, but you can still join us. Okay, so let me show you what's in it, because it's really heavy. So this is in it. This is our binder. Okay, EKG class notes. This little binder, because we have a lot of things to print in our 30 days, so you can print them out and put them in your little workbook here. Okay, so this is all, whatever you feel like printing, you can make the tabs. We actually have a student, Espery. She made this like a crazy binder. She brought it and showed me. I was like, oh my gosh, she did such a good job. You also get the EKG workshop kit. We gave one of these away on night 1. Everybody who joins the 30-day gets one. Inside is a tool that you will love. It is called the RCAT window. Okay, this comes, you get to look at the intervals, you get to look at the coronary anatomy, you get to look at the rule of 300, STEMI, all the things. You're going to get a mini painting, as I mentioned. It comes on a little easel. Easel, yeah, cool. Megan says this is the best decision she's made. I argue with you, Megan. The best decision was having you join us as a coach. So I argue that. Now, this is actually our workbook that I send you. It has real EKGs in it. We go over bundle branch blocks. We go over anatomy. We go over EKGs that have a lot of stuff on them. We go over like what's wrong. So this comes to you. They're not like out of a book, so they're not perfect, which is not what you want to learn on. We also give you a cheat sheet. It is right here. I'm not going to show you the cheat sheet because it has all my trade secrets on it, but you get this as a member. You also get a normal EKG that we send you that you color code with us in our workshop. And then we give you instructions on how to use your little RCAT window prize that you got. And this all comes to you 2-day mail. So if you are joining us, know that I'm leaving tomorrow. So if you want to get the box in the mail in 2 days, you have to join by tomorrow morning. It will go out in tomorrow's mail. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till I get back on Saturday to put your kits in the mail. Just FYI, I'm just doing full disclosure because then we're going to be teaching live in San Antonio. So anyway, yes, Steve, I'm so glad that this is helping you in medic school. And Katie, I think I saw you on here. You are the winner, and message me in Facebook Messenger. If anybody wants to join, I think everybody's been posting the link. So thank you everybody for doing that. We'll be posting this in the replay page so you can rewatch it. Know that we start kicking off the welcome call on the 9th. So it is good if you can get in before the 9th. I know some people like to wait till the end of the week. Totally fine. And if we can convince Megan and Michelle and Sean and all the coaches in Espery that are getting together to do a little bonus session, we'll be streaming from Michelle's house for a little bonus session and to say hi. And if you're in San Antonio, yes, let us know, because if you're coming, we're going to have a little dinner. And you guys are welcome to come with us. We want to meet you live because this is the last hurrah going live. And Megan, I get to see you. I'm so excited to give you a big hug. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, we're going to hop off. We'll be back at 6:30 and we'll see you soon. All right, bye guys.